Let's make an artist inspired by John Sabraw. First, we'll start with something that can trace a circle and a pencil and our paper. I will line up the circle in the middle of my paper the best I can with my eyes, and then I'll hold it down as I trace along the edge. Remember, I can trace along the edge by pushing my pencil against whatever I am tracing. Then, on the back, I will flip it over and write my name. It's super important to write your name and write it neatly so that anyone who is looking at it can read it. So we have our circle traced and I've got set up to paint, and we'll be painting with something called liquid watercolors today. Now these could be liquid watercolors that you've made out of recycled markers, or they might be other pre-made liquid watercolors. If you've made liquid watercolors with recycled materials, that's even more like our artist, who's our inspiration source today. I've got a brush with some water on it to start my painting, and I'm actually going to, with just the water, paint around the inside of my circle. Now I know on the camera it can be hard to see that because water is clear, but in real life yours will look a little bit shiny, and that's how you can tell where the water has been painted or hasn't been painted yet. When I'm doing this, I am really trying to go slowly and carefully, and I'm using a wide flat brush, and I'm thinking about moving my hand intentionally. Intentionally is a word for doing something on purpose and being careful. So I'm being intentional as I am tracing around the inside edge of my circle with just the water. So if I hold my paper up, you can kind of see when it reflects in the light how I've traced it with the water, and I'm also then going to use the brush and paint in the inside. Now depending on what kind of paper you're using, whether it's watercolor paper or drawing paper, sometimes it might start to bow up in the middle. You can see that's just something that happens in the process of painting sometimes. But that's okay. We can embrace the randomness that comes with this style of painting. Now, I don't have too much water here. It's not like got any huge drips anywhere. And I'm ready for the next step, which is going to be to drip little bits of color in here. And I've got some colors in my paint palette. I have red, yellow, and blue. And with those colors, I could also mix up other colors. I could even put a dot of water in here. So let's say I wanted to mix up a green color. I could start with some yellow, and then I could add some blue and end up with the green. And what's going to happen when I paint on this already wet surface is the colors are going to move and spread and blend and bleed into each other in ways that are a little bit unpredictable and random. And that randomness can be really fun to experiment with as we paint. Now, one of the hard parts of our job today is figuring out when we want to stop, when you want to stop your painting before it gets too mixed together and muddy together. But we can have fun trying out different ways that the paint and water can move. You could potentially use different sized brushes depending on what brushes are available at which schools. Something that we might do differently for this art class than other art classes was we might leave our paintings on the table to dry instead of taking them to the drying rack. Or maybe not. It really depends on which school we're at and other constraints. A cool science connection to think about as we're painting is you'll notice if you have a clear line, the paint isn't going past where our wet circle ended. One of the properties of water that'll keep water in place is called surface tension. So if we add too much water, it might drip past. But if we have just the right amount of water, the surface tension will keep it from going beyond the circle. For me, I think this is a good stopping point for my artwork, so I'm going to leave it like this, and I'll wait for other directions about our cleanup process today. I'm excited to see your artworks inspired by our artist.